Welcome.
Good morning. So
Good
nice to
evening.
see you.
Morning. Good morning. It's nice to see
Morning,
everybody.
morning, morning, everyone.
Give people a minute to arrive, and I'm going to make Zena the co-host. If you'd like to say a couple words, Zena.
Just wonderful to be with you all today. And I'll be kind of in the background monitoring the chat for questions as we go and maybe hop in the conversation a little bit myself. But feel free to ask questions in the chat. And then I think we will have a little bit of time at the end of the hour for more
How are you?
conversation. I'm okay. I'm okay. Um, It's surreal. It's very strange. I don't know if you don't know, I'm Jane's daughter. I'm Zena, and I live in Minneapolis, and in South Minneapolis, in a neighborhood that's been very heavily targeted by ICE. And it's we have parents standing outside our kids' school in the morning and afternoon, and daycare. Um, and it's been tense and very stressful. And I'm, you know, not the target. So I can't imagine. I can't imagine how a lot of the families in our community are dealing with everything right now. Um, but part of, getting through this is being together. And that's why I wanted to be in on this with mom and be here with all of you. And so thanks for being with us this
We've
morning.
missed you.
Yeah. Yeah, I always, going through the year with CST, mom fills me in on how the meetings go. And my life has just been so busy that I'm doing the work in the background, but not attending the meetings, but I really miss the meetings. So um, maybe I can make it to more in 2026. I'm looking forward to that. But
We
this
miss
series,
you.
Yeah.
yeah, I miss you too. So, yeah.
Okay. With no further ado, now Zena, I'm not seeing myself. Do I need to go to gallery view or speaker?
Speaker? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm still seeing you and not me.
Can you pin yourself?
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Before we officially begin, I would like you, if you're not already muted, to mute yourselves, please. And that will mean that there won't be any background noise that's interfering with people's abilities to hear. I'm not going to mute you, Zena.
Okay.
If you have any, here's how we're going to do this today. Um, I have prepared some comments, and Zena is going to watch the chat. And if you have a question that's coming up as we go along here, feel free to put it in the chat, and then she will find a way to interrupt me, which she's been good at doing for 38 years. So I don't know why it'll be different today. And and then she'll have some comments to make too. And at the very end, we will hopefully have a few minutes and open it to questions in a broader sense or comments at that point. So if you have a question specifically related to something I'm talking about, then you can put that in the chat. Right now I'm recording this in speaker view, so and you can make the choice. You can choose either gallery or speaker. On my screen, it's at the top right. Um, I'm not sure it really makes any difference, whether I'm full screen or not, but you do have that option if you'd like to pursue it. And I really want to thank you for taking an hour out of your day to join us here. Um, when we started to talk about the possibility of doing this series of 3 sessions, I think it was driven by our combined belief that these are times when we need each other and we need to be in community. And there are also times when it feels really crucial to recognize divine feminine energy and embrace it for ourselves, individually and collectively. And so I'm going to talk a lot about the divine feminine today. But before I begin, I want to explain why I see the divine feminine woven into the way I understand archetypes. And for anyone who isn't familiar with archetypes, we'll start there. Basically, these are universal patterns of behavior. They are collective, and understanding them goes all the way back to Greece. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychotherapist, is usually the one who gets the credit for introducing the idea of archetypal patterns in the contemporary world. And anyone who's in this session today who has been part of CST is very, if not very familiar with archetypes, certainly becoming more familiar all the time. But we need to start there because before we can talk about the divine feminine, we need to talk about duality. And duality means two sides to something. And there are lots of natural dualities. And from an archetypal standpoint, an example of a duality is that we talk about archetypes in terms of having a shadow side. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. Sometimes it means it's just the part of ourselves that hasn't had a light shown on it yet. And so we have the shadow side, but then we always have the light side of an archetypal pattern. And I think of that as the friend or the lesson. And when we're becoming our best, true, authentic selves, what we want to do is to grow into those lessons and into that authenticity by embracing the archetypal pattern and recognizing that it's there for a good reason and that it's a helper. So another example of a duality that most people are familiar with, which is why I'm using it, is the yin yang symbol. You may be familiar with that. It's a circle, and half of the circle is typically black and the other half of the circle is white. Here's the thing about that. If you look at a yin yang symbol, you'll see that there's a little dot. So on the black side, there's a little dot of white in the black. And on the white side, there's a little spot or dot of black on the white. And what that represents has come to represent in the way we think of the yin yang now is that the one side represents masculine active qualities and the other side, typically the white, represents the yin, represents the softer receptive side, which we now characterize as feminine. Not all cultures have characterized those two halves as male or female, masculine or feminine, but that's what we're most familiar with. But I want to give you a broader way to understand that because, and this is from Dr. Sharon Blackie, this is not my idea, that really the way to think about yin yang isn't necessarily masculine and feminine as two separate entities. It's more like a hill that has a light. When the sun's shining, one side of the hill is in lightness and one side of the hill is in darkness, but it's still the same hill. And so this is how we begin to think about dualities in a progression from talking about them from an archetypal standpoint to understanding that another duality is the idea of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, but they're not separate. They are parts of the same whole. And I think at this point in time, there's this real interest in getting back in touch with the divine feminine in ourselves because we live in a culture that prizes qualities that aren't necessarily thought of as the divine feminine. You know, productivity and aggressiveness and let's see, I wrote some of this down so I wouldn't forget it. Logic, achievement, and productivity. An overemphasis on that. And really what we're here to do is not to say any of that is bad. I am productive. I am a productive person. That's a good thing. But what we're really talking about here is how out of balance things have gotten. And that's why it's so important to think about reclaiming the divine feminine. Because in reality, we're just like that yin yang. We need both sets of qualities in order to be a fully recognized and whole human being. And so this can be a deliberate, intentional process of reclaiming the divine feminine so that we can get back in balance. And this is not really related to gender at all. I'm sorry if you can hear the dog walking around. Go sit down. This isn't really about gender. It's about energy. It's about the kind of energies that work together to make us complete and make us whole. And so we want feminine energy, and we all know plenty of men who have soft qualities that sometimes in ways that are maybe awkward for them. And so the point of this as human beings is for all of us to embrace both sides of ourselves and recognize that androgyny is a good thing. This has nothing to do with sexual orientation or any of that. This has to do with human qualities that make us the best possible people that we can be. And so with that in mind, I have some ideas that I want to share with you to help claim the divine feminine in yourself and to help others claim it in themselves, help other people claim it too. And that goes for all of the people that we love and are close to. We want these to be qualities that we can all embrace and see as good human qualities, not necessarily masculine or feminine qualities, but human qualities that make us better people and help us to become the best possible people we can be. So I wrote them down so that I would have a list here. It's important to cultivate inner awareness and follow your intuition. And by that, I mean that too often we turn off that gut reaction we have to something and dismiss it. And we don't want to do that. We want to trust ourselves. Number 2 is self-care. And by self-care, of course, I mean getting enough exercise and drinking enough water and maybe having a massage and all of that. But there are other kinds of self-care that can go a little bit deeper for you. And that would include creating a sacred space for yourself. I sent out an email yesterday that got an amazing reaction. And in it, I described lighting a candle every day around dinner time and thinking the words of a song that I grew up with in the church that I was part of as a child. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. That's self-care. That's self-care. We want to honor the cycles and get back in as much as we can, embrace the natural rhythm of things. You know, we're go, 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 go all the time. And that isn't, as women, we have the menstrual cycle. We have the cycles of the moon. You can literally go outside during any stage of the moon and just look up at the moon and send up a prayer. That's self-care too. So following the cycles, it's all related. That's part of intuition as well. I find that it's really useful to explore, and by that I mean, and I've talked about the cornerstones of creativity quite a bit in the past. They are curiosity, clarity, confidence, and community. And those are woven through everything that I'm sharing with you right now. But I like to explore curiosity, goddesses, and other women, and we can all think about women who've been role models for us. They could be grandmothers, they could be mothers, they could be a woman who lived down the street and had a beautiful flower garden. Could be Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There are all kinds. It could be Artemis or Aphrodite. It could be Venus. This is an important connection, and I think it's been a little bit frayed for many of us. And it would be worth it to read some stories, read some myths, reconnect on some level with this beautiful sense of what we are capable of being and doing. So that's explore. And then creativity. You've heard me say it numerous times. I'll never stop saying it. This is a birthright. And exploring your creativity is one way to reconnect again, or to connect the dots, or connect in whatever way works for you, to think about what we do with our hands and how amazing what we do with our hands is, and how that can be its own kind of self-care, frankly. When you're working with your hands and you're in the studio, whether you're or sitting on the couch for that matter, knitting, crocheting, or stitching, no matter what you're doing that's creative, you are connecting to other generations of creatives, which helps you to feel less alone. But you're also in the Tao Te Ching, there's a verse that talks about, can you be patient enough to let the mud settle so that the water is clear? And I think when we sit or paint or do whatever we're doing that's creative, cooking, I think what we're doing is we're letting the mud settle. We're distilling something down to its essence. And it doesn't matter whether anybody ever sees what you make. It's the making. It's the making itself that is the healing, or the resolve, or the resiliency, or the gift. It's all of those things. And then the next point is to stay true to yourself. And remaining honest with yourself is one of the hardest things that you can ask yourself to do when it comes to connecting to the divine feminine. And you know why? Because you have to cut out the negative self-talk. There's no room for this. You are a glorious, amazing human being, and you're not perfect, but you're trying. And that negative self-talk, what we want to do is honor ourselves and the embodied divine feminine in each of us. And we want to witness to it and honor it in everyone around us as well. And that's why the last part of this equation, this list of ideas that I'm suggesting that we use in order to connect with positive archetypal energy and the positive divine feminine and the masculine qualities that we acknowledge and feel recognize in ourselves, all of this, all of it makes us these amazing, complicated, very special, one-of-a-kind human beings. that we are, artists and creatives that we are. Now, one more thing. Excuse me. One more thing about this. Zen and I were talking about it when we did a test run earlier this morning. It's really hard to embrace all of this by yourself. It's hard to keep your spirits up. It's hard to keep up your desire to be positive when you're alone. It's too easy for doubt, for that self-talk to creep in. And that's why the fourth cornerstone of creativity is community. And that's why community is on my list right here, because you can try to go it alone, but it's way easier to be in community. When we're in community, we can lift each other up and we can comfort each other and we can continue to communicate and we can be our truly best selves. We let judgment out the window. We see each other, we see the good in each other. And this is why these salons, sometimes somebody will say to me, "You do so many things online, you must get so tired of it." And I'm here to tell you, I don't get tired of it. Because one thing that we've lost too frequently is a sense of purpose. We're drifting. You know, they say that this is actually an epidemic among young people, that they don't have a sense of purpose. And your sense of purpose doesn't need to be great, big, huge. You don't have to be a big visionary. You don't have to be a martyr. You just have to put one foot in front of the other and find some joy in your life and then figure out how to share that with other people, because that's the divine feminine in you blossoming and shining out on everyone else. And so that's why these sessions are so important. It's why CST is so important, because when you're a member of CST, what do you get? You get weekly doses of, I hope, you get weekly doses of enthusiasm, and you can do it, and you're not in this alone. And so I'm very grateful for the creative strength training community, because it does give us an opportunity to explore all these ideas. We can do all the exploring we want to. We can do it together. We can share it collectively. We can talk about things that are new ideas, and we don't have to figure it all out by ourselves. So that is most of what I wanted to share today. Zenek, would you like to make any comments, or have there been any questions? Looked like there was a technical something on.
Yeah, there were some technical things going on, but I think we sorted those out. As you were talking, I was just thinking that I think when we feel alone, or when I feel alone, what has worked for me to kind of get outside of myself and be of service somehow and get out kind of into my community or online. And I think that is what kind of was part of our impetus for doing this series, because mom gets emails often, and we're in this kind of in-between period where we're not meeting regularly for CST. And I know how important that community and connection is. And so um, I guess I just wanted to say that out loud as a reminder for anyone feeling lonely and isolated, maybe during this kind of unprecedented time. And I'm just grateful that we can come together online, even though we live all over the world. And um, yeah, I didn't have anything beyond that, really.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
We intentionally
So,
didn't create too much of a script for this because we didn't want it to be that kind of a style of a sort of a lecture. It's really designed, I think, to be more of a conversation. And that means that one thing that happens frequently that I've only recently started pointing out is that when the room is quiet, it doesn't mean people aren't thinking pretty hard. It just means that maybe the thoughts haven't been collected, so they're not quite sure what to say yet. And I think, you know, I'm through apologizing for stumbling around some of the time when I talk about things because these are big ideas and they're complex ideas. And what we're trying to do together collectively here, I think, is keep it from being out there on the horizon and seeming to be unapproachable, because really it's all in here. Pam, comment, please.
Hold on, I'm coming. um, I just wanted to kind of tie something in and not try to be a downer, but one of the things that motivated me to come to this, and I totally respect the tears that come along with it. But in these unprecedented times, you made a mention in your email, yes, I think it was yesterday, where you said, people say just lay low and do art, or lay low and carry on with yourself. And one of the things that I'm feeling, and it's like it's coming out, but it's getting stilted because I don't understand it, is feeling alone versus feeling fearful. And I know, like, what Zena's going through, that's true fear. That's like in your face. It's so big and large. But it also is happening in the grocery store. It's happening at the gym. It's happening wherever you go. I've been confronted in a very negative way for simply getting my grocery cart in the wrong spot. People just kind of losing themselves. And so when you do that, you take this feeling of aloneness and you take this feeling and it becomes fearful. And what you want to do is close yourself off. You say, well, I'm not going out in the world. I'm going to sit under this tree and look at the birds. I'm not going out there. But then there's that part of you that says, well, that's not getting anything done. That's not getting anything done for your fellow human beings. It's not getting anything done for yourself. And so, that's the kind of feeling I'm grappling with. And that's one of the things I appreciate about you and Zena, because it's like I literally say in my head, oh, I need Jane. Like, I need Jane. And what I'm really saying is I need the community. I need the CSD community. And so I just kind of wanted to put that out there because, my husband and I were talking yesterday, and I don't really know what to do with the fear. As we age, I think we get a little more fearful of stuff. But at the same time, I'm calling bull on it because I don't want to live that way. I want to march forward. I want to be proactive. I want to speak up. And, it's just, I just wanted to put that out there because it does feel like it's part of this. It's like you lose your compass, you lose where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if others are feeling that same thing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Pam. I think we all are. I think we all are. And I can't say what anyone else could or should do at all. I can only tell you what I do, um, because I just keep deciding that I'm going to be kind if I can be kind.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean, I mean, we're all in various can find ourselves in circumstances where the best thing to do is just keep your mouth shut and walk away. And that's okay too. And we all exist on a continuum of what we can do and what we're not comfortable doing. And that has to be okay too. And I have a great deal of faith in all of the young people I know. I'm including Zena in that as a young person. because most of the young people I know are really wonderful, decent, amazing human beings.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing that. I'm actually preferring some of the company of the young people. Like it's like refreshing and joyful that they see a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that I may not have ever thought of at all. It reminds me so much of the 60s. It's like, let's look at it differently and let's come up with a new approach. So I totally agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pam.
Mhm.
Teresa, please. And by the way, before you start talking, Teresa,
Okay.
I didn't say this, and doesn't seem like it's stopping anyone. But the way we usually run comments here is that you would find the raise hand feature, and that's usually down in reactions wherever that is on your screen. And so if you would like to make a comment, please do raise your hand. And if you can't find the raise hand feature, then you can blurt, or you can put it in the chat and Zena will pick up on it and we'll get your comment in that way. Sorry, Teresa, back to you.
Okay, not a problem. Well, just, in response to what Pam was saying, like when I do go into like the grocery store or whatever, any other store, whatever, I mean, I always try and walk in with sort of a positive attitude. And I just found that it kind of helps. Like if, people are trying to maneuver their carts, if you say, oh, excuse me, or can I get past, or, thank you, and whatever. I find that people respond to that a little bit more than by being angry, so I try that one. But my original comment was just going to be about CST community. Um, I just find that, I've been in CST for a couple of years, and I just find that I'm gaining more confidence in, my art, whatever I'm doing in my art. And this past year, the two groups that I have found so helpful and so supportive encouragement is the once a month meeting with the Making Your Own Mark. And that was headed by Pamela Cole. And, we don't really do anything. We just talk about what we did, what we're planning on doing, and are we kind of stuck with anything? We have discussions and we share, resources and whatever. So that's been a big help. And that's only once a month. But the other group that's really been very helpful is Getting Art Done. And that was with Penny Beer. And, we meet once a week. And we meet, we say, what are we going to do for the day? And it was funny because today just about everybody said, I'm going to clean up my studio. That was the big thing for today. So, but I just find that, we say what we're going to do. We go off, we do whatever we do. Not everybody's doing the same thing. And then we come back and we share. We say this, oh, I did this and I'm really pleased with it. Or I don't know, it doesn't look right. Does anybody have suggestions? We share resources. We laugh. And it's just a very encouraging, supportive. Nobody is unkind. Nobody, rips anybody apart. And it's just a wonderful, warm, welcoming, supportive, encouraging. Both of them, both places, and CST in general, are very encouraging and supportive and wonderful, just wonderful. So that was my comment.
Thank you, Teresa. And
You're welcome.
I think it's important to point out that, well, it seems awfully obvious. We're allowed to have fun.
Yeah, we do.
We're allowed to
And
have fun. We need it
yeah.
right now. We need some
Mhm.
of that. It's part of it's one of those dualities.
Yeah. And just one other thing, at the end of in December, we all decided that we were going to continue to meet weekly up until, in January and February, even though we weren't having regular CST meetings. We all wanted that community to stay together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It can be very powerful.
It is. It really is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bonnie, you've been patient. Your thoughts, please. Except you're muted.
Details. I'm here because about 8:30 this morning, I'm in Portland, Oregon. My dear, dear friend Heidi Knowles told me about this group, and I went, whoa, I'm in. So I'm so pleased. Secondly, Jane, I don't know what art you do, but the greatest art you've ever done is your daughter. What a beautiful woman she is. So there's that. And I wanted to say there's a marvelous, marvelous phrase that comes out of the rabbinic tradition. It's by a 17th century rabbi, Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. And he said, all of life is a very narrow bridge. And our job is to walk it in spite of the fear. Fear is part of us. Fear keeps us alive. If we didn't have fear, we wouldn't have never made it as a species. So the idea is to honor your fear, but don't necessarily listen to it. It makes a big deal. So it's just, what's in front of you and go bravely with the fear. It's not to be gotten rid of.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think every faith tradition has a version of that. And in Buddhism, it would be, feel the fear and do it anyway.
Uh-huh.
And you're reminding me of another quote that I wanted to share that is apparently from a rabbi, but the version I've got is from Shotzi Weisberger, an artist in New York City who I think passed last year. And this quote was passed on to me by one of the CST members. Choose to believe the truth about yourself, no matter how beautiful it is. Yeah. Janice, please.
Jane, I have intended to write to you, so I'll just speak to you and speak to all my CST sisters. I want to thank you for the bravery that you and Zena showed us by putting your thoughts and your heart in that email to us yesterday. I want to say thank you because you beautifully articulated what I am feeling, and I suspect others are too, that I'm not alone in this. And I have done an artwork based upon that beautiful song, Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me. And that was my White Stone word piece several years ago. And I really do believe it that I have to get myself grounded in order to handle all of the noise out in the community. And I know that for me, that CST has been life-changing, and I want to thank you for that. My heart hurts for Zena and her community because it has put the ugliness in focus for us. My community, there's a suburb of my community that had a city council meeting that was attended by over 1,000 people to protest the building of a Muslim mosque on land in that community. And Islam is not my faith experience. However, I really do believe that with that, I was shown an underbelly of ugliness that has existed, and I just have chosen not to see it. So, Jane, Zena, thank you for speaking your truth, and thank you for putting it out to CST that this is part of our code of ethics that we have with one another. Transcending the political, we have to live in a larger community. I'll get off my soapbox. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Zena.
I didn't consider it a soapbox. Thanks. Debbie, your thoughts, please.
Am I unmuted now? Okay. So I have, as I'm thinking about this, I haven't been able to participate in CST this year because I had bizarre, crazy health stuff that just spiraled. I spent more than 100 days in the hospital. I mean, it was really quite an experience. So just prior to that happening, I needed to get hip surgery, so I wasn't able to get upstairs to where my I'm sorry, I'll just ignore this. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, that was a doctor calling. I'll call back. that I couldn't get up my stairs to get to the studio. So I wasn't doing, art, which was really kind of an important thing for me during that time. So I tried to adjust by, trying to sketch, with a pencil or whatever, just when I needed to. So here's the thing. I'm saying this is brand new thoughts for me as I'm sitting here with you all, that in that time period that I was in the hospital, I had experiences that I probably never would have had if I hadn't been there. So I'm really glad that I'm here right now with you guys, because it made me realize that this was kind of an important thing that happened. I had exchanges with people of all walks of life that I probably would maybe smile at if going in and out of a grocery store, but we wouldn't have crossed paths in my life. And I had some very good one-on-one time with all of these different people, different ages, different races, different religions. And yet we didn't talk about any of that. It was just that we exchanged thoughts and kindness. Like, what you say, be kind. We were just like they were very kind to me, all of them, which was, I really appreciated, because you're kind of a captive audience when you're in a hospital bed. And so I was really grateful for any kindness that I had. But and there was a lot of weakness for me. I lost like a third of my body weight, and I've lost half my hair, and all kinds of stuff going on. I'm on the slow mend right now, and I'm home. So I'm real grateful to be here. So this is really my first exposure, trying to come back to my life, really, that what's important to me. But I think that having this, and I've only been out a little bit, like, my dog got so excited that I took her for a ride in the car, because it had been 6 months since she had ridden in the car with me. So there are very little things that are happening just this past week. And what I found when I was out, which would be going to a doctor's appointment or going into the drugstore to try to pick something up, or whether that people have been extremely kind to me. Like, am I just noticing it now, or is it that they're recognizing in me that I want to do that, where before I was just kind of in a hurry, where you're kind of in a hurry with your life, and you're going in and out of stores or whatever, and I'm going very slow now, and using a cane and things. And so people have been phenomenally kind to me in the short little outages that I've had. And I've just thought about, I thought about how, because of everything that's happened, in a way, I'm kind of forced to be in the present, to be in the now, for a number of reasons. Number one, I don't want to fall down. So I have to be very slow and careful with what I'm doing as I'm moving through, getting in and out of the car or whatever, in and out of a door. It makes me more in the present. And then I think that the few exchanges that I've had makes them more meaningful of changes. And I'm not as worried about things as I was before. I can't quite explain that. It's just I guess it's sort of a silver lining to all this awful stuff that's happened, that I kind of shifted me for now, because I have to be shifted. I can't be the busy person, in and out doing a lot of different things or whatever. So it's kind of been a little bit, in a weird way, a gift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and this is the first time I've said this to you right now. It's the first time I've thought it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's a really interesting realization, Debbie, because it is, in my experience, it's another one of those dualities.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked publicly about the fact that I was bankrupt and divorced within a year of those two events were within a year of each other. And I looked back on it at that time, it was totally devastating. But I look back and there was a silver lining.
Yeah.
First of all, I got my beautiful daughter. And secondly, I learned a lot about how to deal with people because we owned a business.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we lost the business, the lessons that I learned stuck with me.
To carry on. Yeah.
sometimes we just can't see that until a lot of time has passed.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know that you and Zena are, I don't know you personally, but I only know you from, the online, but both of you are extremely kind people. You can just tell by people's face, just when they talk. So
Well, don't get me started. We're going to take a few more comments since we're getting toward the end of the hour. But I'm glad you're here, Debbie.
thank you.
I'm glad you're in recovery.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Linda, you've been patient. Your thoughts, please.
Thank you. So glad to be here. And I almost didn't come because, and it's part of that whole thing of community, the self-care and the balance. It has taken me almost, 40 years, a long time, to fully realize and appreciate how introverted I am and how alone time and solitude and being away from it's just like mandatory. And I've finally gotten to that place where I realize that. And now what I'm realizing is that doesn't work on its own. So where's the balance? I can't be out there in the way I was in my 20s and 30s, which was, being a feminist and war protests and all those sort of things, which gave me nearly a nervous collapse just from all being out there so much. So it's like finding that balance right now is really, really big for me because one of the biggest things is I feel that my introversion and my need to be alone sometimes makes me look unreliable. I'm not going to show up for every event. I'm not going to, do all that sort of stuff. And I don't have any grand reason. It's just because I need that. And sometimes I think, well, if I was heading up that committee, I wouldn't want somebody who just shows up half the time either. I understand that. So learning how to balance that right now. And when you went through, these initial things right here, I got, that's it right there, that balance. And then the second thing was, oh, Santa, when you said that, you're not the target, but your community, that's what my community is. And I've lived in this same house and in this community for over 40 years. And most of the other people, if it's not the owners, it's their children. So I mean, it's like, I feel like some mornings I want to call a roll call from the children. Well, everybody just show up, out in your driveway so that we can just check and make sure that everybody's still here. It's just like I don't know what to do with that. And my next door neighbor, who I helped raise her kids. I mean, we're like really close. We make tamales. She taught me how to make tortillas and tamales, and we do that on Christmas Eve. Um, she said to me, "Can I just give Shane, which is her son, all your info so if something happens to me and I disappear, he could call you?" I mean, this is a kid that used to chase lizards over in my front yard and help me take care of my cats. And it was just like, oh my God, of course, I thought he already had it. I mean, and he lives in LA, right up in sort of the thick of things. I live in Orange County. So no one has shown up on my street, but they're in the area. And in Santa Ana, which is just, 10 miles away, there was a big deal the other day in a confrontation, and a young person was blinded by an ICE agent by being shot in the eye. It's just like Santa Ana, that's like, yeah, I've been going to Santa Ana all my life because I grew up here. And then there's I come back to that balance. Sometimes when it's like that, I just need to close all the drawers, draw the drapes, go in my studio, and just tell the world to go away. And I may not be available for the way I would like to be able to hug or comfort someone. And it's because I've got to get me together first.
Yeah, that's
So
exactly right.
that balance is just huge right now.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, thank you. So anyway, I looked at this and I went, oh, community. No, I don't want community. I went out of it. I went back. I went, no, I don't. I want community, and I got to figure out how to do that. That's the thing. Oh, good. I'll go to this. This will help, and it does. So
Well,
thank you.
everybody's balance is a little bit different, Linda, and the whole goal is to honor whatever that is.
Yeah.
I really identify with that,
Thank you.
Linda. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm an introvert too, and it's taken me a long time to recognize that when I do get over that hump of like really not wanting to do something and I show up for it, I get so much back in return, and I need that energy to keep going. And then as you were talking about, shutting all the blinds and going into your safe space, whatever that is, I think I'm learning that it's with what intention are you going into that space? Are you going to just take a few days or whatever you need to rest and heal so that then you can come back? Or are you feeling the despair and overwhelming fear and like
Right.
without that idea about using that time to come back into community?
Right.
And I'm thinking about all that stuff and all the time. So I just thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, thank you. That's a good distinction right there. The despair or the healing.
Yeah.
Which way am I? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Carol, thank you. You've been patient too.
Well, thanks. I want to go back to what you started with, which was basically what we usually see as opposites, and the yin yang symbol in particular. That has been a crucial thing for me all my life. And I didn't wear it today, but I had a ring made that I have worn since probably about 1975. And the center of it, the part that's on the top of the finger, is the yin yang symbol. And the reason it was so important to me was that I have seen myself for years as this collection of opposites, really contradictory opposites. And I have a considerable collection, that's not the right word, but anyhow, a considerable component of masculine preferences and ideas in my personality. And that was all. I grew up in the 50s, for God's sake. So that was not appropriate. So I spent most of my life feeling as if there was something wrong with me. And then a quilt group that I was in decided that they were going to have a challenge. They were going to have a series of challenges. And we threw ideas into a brown paper bag. And then when it came time for the first challenge, they dipped into the bag and pulled one out. And what came out was icons. And I thought, oh, rats. The only icons I knew anything about or I thought about were the Russian, the Russian icons. And then, I don't know, somehow I realized that yin yang symbol is an iconic symbol. So I made a piece. And I really integrated, because the way I made it, I integrated the blacks and the whites. One side is more dominant than in one color than the other, but it's not that stark all black, all white. And then since CST, among other things, I did realize that that yin yang symbol is not two separate things. It's a whole. Mm-hmm. It is the whole thing. And the black and the white, day and night, are necessary to each other. Stop and think about what would happen to life if the world were all dark, no sunshine at all. Or by the same token, what would happen if there were no night in which to recover? So I think that there is so much, it's so easy to think in those opposites as separate things and often competing things, that's where we can stop. And for me, it's been a huge help to realize that yin yang symbol is one thing with two elements, and they interpenetrate.
Mhm.
as they should. And coming to that realization has given me a great deal of peace, I guess.
Mhm.
So, but I just, even in your Jane, even in your talking about it, there was still a separation. Part of it is because of the language. So that's why I wanted to say, go on about the way I just did. So thanks.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would
Yeah.
not have been I would not have been here today except that we have an enormous snowfall, so the planned lunch is going to happen next week. So I'm glad to have been able to come.
Yeah, I'm glad you were here. And we can't emphasize enough, and I appreciate what you've said, that we're really talking about wholeness here. And okay, we're coming up toward the top of the hour, but
I say one more thing.
yeah,
We are at conception, we are half and half. There's a male cell and a female cell. And ending up out in the world, seeing all that as separate damages us, I think.
yeah,
Okay, now I'm done.
yeah, yeah. I totally get that. And I was about to say that if you only budgeted an hour for this meeting, you're welcome to leave at the top of the hour, but I never end a meeting if there are still some hands up. And Mary LeBlanc, your hand was up and then it went down. So I'm going to scoot back over here to Fran, but Mary, if you still want to make a comment, there's time. Fran, please.
Thank you. I've just been having so many thoughts and feelings. This is a wonderful discussion, and thank you for giving us a way to do that. I've been having health issues like Debbie since September. I had surgery, and then I've had some other things come up, and now thyroid issues, which all have made me very fatigued and frustrated. Because when I get fearful politically and upset politically, I want to take action. And I haven't had the energy to do that. And so I felt very frustrated. I also have felt frustrated about not doing art because of this energy thing and kind of feeling flat from taking Wegovy. I don't know if anybody else has experienced that. Um, but I had a kind of amazing breakthrough this week, which I thought would be interesting to share. Um, I was getting an MRI of my thyroid gland for 2 hours under the MRI machine. And I found myself using energy, using light, requesting celestial help, and healing my knee from surgery and healing my thyroid, and just imagining using energy and light to heal myself. And it was this realization that even though perhaps I can't take a lot of action sort of out in the world, I still have agency and I can use my intention and I can use energy and I can ask for help from spirit guides. And, I believe I have spirit guides and just this realization that just because you can't physically do something, you still have the ability to have an intention and move energy and create healing. And so I found myself sending healing to the whole political situation. I lived in Minneapolis. I lived on 34th and Portland. My house has been in the photograph, in the movies of what's going on in Minneapolis. I could see my house behind Renee Good. So my heart is there. I have this history of activism in Minneapolis. So that's been very, very hard to kind of sit still with. I want to go out and do something. But it was just very profound for me to realize that I can do something on an energetic level and an intentional level and a spiritual level without taking physical action at this time. And so I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. We're glad you're here. Tracy, you've been patient.
Okay, good. So good to see everyone. Haven't seen you since COVID. Uh, and I think what has torn our country apart is that our sense of community is what has switched from what we are for to what we are against. And I noticed that a lot of you know I have like 900 hats. And so I have two hats that were given to me by Ram Dass, and they both say, be here now. And so if I wear this hat to the Aldi, no problem. If I put this hat on, I get scowls and disapproval. And it's sad that people are jumping to conclusions based on real external things and not even bothering to read the hat or read the room or read my lips or read my heart or whatever. So I think community works best when we concentrate on what we are for and not what we are against. That was a principle of the unity movement as well. I'm kind of disappointed. I've been following, there's this interplanetary object in space called Three Eye Atlas. And so some people were saying it was not a comet, but it was just here to observe us. And I was kind of hoping that maybe it really was, and it would reveal itself in a way that would create a community on this planet that of what we are for one another. As a, and so that hasn't happened. But it's good to see everyone. Now, Jane, you haven't cried yet, so I'm kind of waiting for that. But I've got to say, I kind of miss it. So good to see everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mary, you're back. Good. Yeah. Can you unmute?
There.
There you go.
I couldn't find it. I would like to say that I feel very comforted being here with you today, Jane, and you, Senna. Your faces are so familiar, and I feel like I really need that. Like everybody, I've been alternating between anger and grief and feeling like I don't know what's happening to our world anymore. And the sense of community that I feel here, I'm not a person that speaks a lot, and I really don't have anything profound to say, except to say thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we're all here together. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, Tracy, check it out. Well, it's been a nourishing hour. And I'm
Can I jump in for one
Oh,
second?
Bonnie,
I don't
I'm
mean to
sorry.
be rude, but
I
I
didn't see
forget
your
who-
hand. Good.
I just popped it back up again. I just have to say this. And I don't even know if I believe it because I am agnostic about everything. And that's great because it's all possible. But one of the things about Three Eye Atlas that I've heard that I choose to believe is that it came across, and as it did, it reseeded the planet with healing seeds. So if you can imagine a quadrillion little tiny bitty lettuce seeds have all been implanted in every part of the earth and on the animals, the rocks, and in us, and it will manifest. So that keeps me going at night.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And you never have to worry about speaking out of turn here because it always turns into something that we need to hear. So thank you for being here, and I hope you'll join me next week. Next week, my plan is to talk about the heroine's journey. We'll see how that changes in the next 6 days or so. But I hope you'll have time to come back, and this recording will be available later. And let's all raise a little positive energy today and go out into the world in whatever way we feel comfortable and keep going. Do the best you can.
Thank you, Jane. You have a good week.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane and Senna.